Hey, today we are building an assembly table on top of a car lift. And yes, I have the jungle flu, so I sound terrible. Being a car lift, you know, it likes a lot of weight to go down. So we're gonna make this table stupid heavy. Are we moving? So my design is loosely based on a traditional Ron Paulk style workbench, which I'll link in the description. And even more so like Mike Farrington's bench because he used to lift. And my top design is gonna be similar as well with a couple little extra added features that you'll see here in a bit. But first, we gotta start cutting our uprights so I can build the outside of the box, which is 8 inches. I'm gonna sort of rough cut it with this, and then we'll finish everything up on the table saw. If I can catch my breath. Okay, so we want to do our cutouts before we assemble everything because I want to be able to ease over the corners on both sides to make it nice and easy for the ins and outs there. So my measurements on that are 7 inches in and 1 inch from the top to bottom and 6-inch spacing. So, the ends get the same size pocket, but just one right in the middle.
I can definitely tell you that every time I use my track saw, I appreciate it more and more every time, and especially for tasks exactly like this. Being able to plunge down into the cut like this in the middle of a board and having the track to keep everything straight makes it so much easier than having to do this entire thing with a jigsaw, which for me would probably be a nightmare.
So I'm helping a little bit with the alignment, and actually, it's not helping at all with alignment. What am I talking about? I just put a couple of pocket holes in this, basically, so when I have this glued up there, I know these boards are square. I can run a couple of screws in there just to hold it where it needs to be till the glue dries. That way I know it's nice and solid, because I don't want this to come out of square and then it be swinging around and then the glue dries and then it's not flat, and yeah. So we're gonna install all these separators on each side with a few screws and a whole bunch of glue. So now it's time to put in the supports that go along the back of our little pockets here. And I pulled a dumbhead move again. Nobody said this was gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be solid and it'll be fixed when we're done. So this all fits up here nice and tight, other than I made it, yep, you guessed it, too short by an inch. I don't know what kind of dyslexic number scaredness I've got going on here, but anyway, all we gotta do is add another piece in here to seal it off. Not that big a deal. So we're gonna get these glued into place.
Okay, I want to stop that little voice in your head right now before you go all Wikipedia workbench torsion box top on me. I realize that what I'm making here is not actually a full torsion box top. Those are a lot more involved than what I'm doing, but I have used tops like this before, and I've built them like this in the past before, and they've worked out great and they've stayed super flat. So although it's not a true torsion box top, quote unquote, I know it's going to be super strong and be perfect for what I'm using it for.
So we got to fix what I thought was a boo-boo, but turns out I learned something today. I guess I learned something today. I don't know. I thought that I'd cut my cross pieces an inch short on all these measurements, but turns out these sheets are 49 inches wide, which, is that a new thing? I swear these have always been real accurate at 48 by 96, but who knows? Long story short, they're 49 inches, so I didn't actually make a mistake. I kept everything to my drawing. We just got to trim these off, make them flush, sand it up, make it look pretty. Doesn't really matter the exact size because it's just an assembly table, but turns out it's going to be 48 inches, just like I wanted. So I've thought about this middle section probably way more than, oh, if I break that, I will be pissed. I've thought about this way more than I probably should have. I've been delaying this and I gotta make a decision. So to make our special little feature in the middle here, this has to be airtight. And I put this in here just kind of for extra support. It's not gonna provide any support this way. It's fine, I just need support for the top to make sure that it stays flat forever. And I got to thinking, I still haven't really decided how I wanna do the clamping solutions on here. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna fill the whole thing with dog holes just because I don't wanna do that. And what I like as far as clamping solutions, because I use it in my other workbench, is just a routed slot to where I can fit a clamp down in the slot, because I don't have the kind of clamps that fit in the dog holes. I just like the slots because I can put heavier duty clamps in them. So, long story short, I think I've decided, because when I glue the top on here, there'll only be one thickness of 3/4 inch MDF here, and if I route a slot in that, I put a heavy duty clamp in that. If I really get to wrenching down on that sucker, it's probably gonna bow it, or over time it will. So I think what I'm gonna do is put some extra pieces down in the middle of this, glue them in, and they'll be flush here. So when I put the top on top of here and route a slot, there'll actually be 2 layers of 3/4 MDF. It'll be 1.5 inches. I'm probably not gonna be, if I'm clamping something that's gonna be bending that, I probably mess something up anyway. So that's my thought. I'm gonna put these filler pieces, I'll probably put it all the way across, why not? Glue it in here the best that I can to hold it in there, and then I'll put the top on there, and then it's time to lay out the holes on the top. So,
After all the gluing and the cutting and the nailing and the sanding and the cleaning up, it was time for laying out the holes and the slots. And although I'm not being super critical of the hole placement and, well, the slot placement for that matter, I do have to have them pretty accurate because, for one, the slots have to meet exactly in the middle inside those double plate thickness portions that I built. And then, of course, the holes, even though I'm not being, like I said, super critical, I do want them laid out straight, and I do want them laid out evenly across each side. And doing this really helps me personally in my next step, which of course is drilling all these holes and routing all the slots. I decided it best to drill pilot holes in all my holes, so trying to minimize blowout on the back of it, even though I would never see it or know if it blew out or not. And then I'm using this block just to try to keep my pilot hole as straight up and down to 90 degrees as possible. Again, just hoping that I can keep them as straight as I humanly can without having a drill press over here, being able to put these holes in, or trying to use a router and a router template, which is of course another way that you can do it. But I drilled these pilot holes, and then I went back with an auger bit and drilled them out, and it made super clean holes, and it was really easy, clean, and it turned out really good.
So for our finish, we're gonna go with the oil-based polyurethane because the stuff is tough as hell and it's somewhat inexpensive. But the key to this is MDF is like a sponge, and in this case I want it to be like that because I am going to dilute this stuff about half with mineral spirits so that it really soaks in and kind of seals it like a penetrating sealer almost. Man, this stuff hasn't been stirred up in a long time. Jeez. The last thing is just with the brush, I want to be sure all this end grain is nice and soaked because it's going to be a wear point over time.
Now, of course, it doesn't have the air velocity of a shop vac or anything. I know that's what everybody's probably yelling. You can't use a 4-inch dust pipe on those little tiny holes. It's not gonna have any pressure. Well, you're right, it doesn't have much pressure, but all this is for is when I'm sanding on this surface, is just to be able to pull some of this dust down into here instead of just going up in the air. So I think it's, you know what? It might just be a gimmick. I don't know, but I think it's awesome and it works.
I've been wanting to build one of these for a long time. And of course, before I got around to it, plywood shot through the roof. Like everybody knows nowadays, everything's crazy, but I wasn't gonna wait for it to come back down. I have a lot of projects I need to build that require a big flat surface. And believe it or not, this turned out pretty darn flat. To show, I have a flatness gauge, otherwise known as a straight edge. This is a very nice straight edge, and I'm not gonna move the camera, but you'll just have to take my word for it. When I put this on and shine light under it, I have probably a 64th of an inch, maybe a 64th of an inch right in the middle that it dips. And this way, at least as far as this will reach, there is no daylight that reaches across there. So a 64th of an inch across 48 inches with something made out of wood, I will take that all day. And add in the fact, of course, all the different clamping options that we have, and the dust collection, which I think is very unique. How useful that's going to be over time, I don't know, but it was an easy addition. So I put that in there, and I think it's going to be great. The pockets, of course, like the Ron Paulk style workbench, are amazing because as you're working, you don't have to have everything piled on top of your workbench, which is important because, as everybody knows, every horizontal surface in the shop gets piled with crap no matter what. And, of course, the main attraction of this bench is I can lift 6,500 pounds. Now, that's probably not gonna hold 6,500 pounds. I don't need it to hold 6,500 pounds. That's just the lift that I had. But if I wanted to lift 200 or 300 pounds, I would trust it to do that. And I know that's going to be super easy to do just by pushing that little button right over there. Being a car lift, yes, lowering it down is a little bit slow, even though this table is all but minus 1/3 of a sheet. This is 4 full sheets of MDF. So you're kind of watching here in real time how long this takes to go down. I'll time it. If I'm loading big cabinets or something on here, I can easily put them on there, go right back over here, and it goes up a lot faster than it goes down. So I can raise this up to any height, automatically locks in place, so I can make it as comfortable as I want it to be, high or low. Look at that. In just that amount of time, I can lift this bad boy back up, say, oh, you know what? I want it to go a little higher. So, yeah, that's how that works. Thanks for hanging with me on this one. It's a little bit of a longer video, but there was a lot to it, so please consider subscribing because I do have a heck of a lot more content coming up really soon. I've been piling this stuff up. I've been a little bit slow the last few months on my channel, but I'm getting ready to dump the projects out there. Some of them are really awesome. So thank you guys again, and we'll see you in the next video.